Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm leaving the studio after editing and posting Monday's Patreon show. And it's not a really nice day outside, as you can see, but it is a day nonetheless. So let's go for a ride. And I'm sorry if the thing is shaking. It's not going to help it. Hello, Andy. Hello, Tom. And who else? And Peter. Hello, 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 hello. So we'll go for a ride around the battlefield, as we often do. We'll go a little different way, going through the neighborhoods. We're on Breckenridge Street, if anybody is wondering. And then when you get down to this corner, it turns to West Street. At one point, this was the westernmost street in the town of Gettysburg. So I'm heading out to Middle Street, and I'm going to go out to the First Days Field via Middle Street. Let's see what we got here. Peter says, good time to take a break from spring cleaning. There you go. Matt C. says, good afternoon. Hello, Matt C. It's weird to say Matt C. to someone else and not have it being said to me, because usually that's sometimes what people call me. Phil, hello, how are you? Tom says, actually, beautiful weather in suburban Philadelphia. Oh, man. Well, the clouds are coming your way. Michael Patchett says that, Matt, that interview with Scott Hartwig was the best. Thank you so much for doing that. It was a wicked good lecture. Well, all I did was videotape it. Had nothing to do with the content, but thank you, and I'll pass your compliment along to Chris Quinn. He did a very good job, I thought. Sarah says, taking a break from cleaning the house today and listening to the soundtrack from Gettysburg while playing Ultimate General Gettysburg. Wow, got a lot of Gettysburg going on today. Michael says, I plan on getting the other book to Antietam Creek. Six Question says, I'm in Gettysburg right now with Joe Denise. Oh, very nice. Hello, Joe. Happy birthday. Enjoying a lunch at Appalachian Brewing Company. Oh, maybe I'll stop by and say hi. John B. Didn't the new Money and Cigarettes song drop today? Hope so. Oh, that's funny. So what was it? I just saw a comment somewhere. I think it was on YouTube. That said that we should get Money and Cigarettes to reunite for the Christmas party this year, which would be a disaster. Got a cool account from the 76 New York mentioning casualties from rebel fire and bricks from the town. Kind of interesting. That is interesting. Still plugging away. I dread the thought of the place, says Michael. Gail says, good afternoon, happy Friday to you too, Gail. All right, so we're going to turn right here on Reynolds Ave. And we We have completed the right turn. We're gonna do just a short drive today. I have a couple of things I gotta do before I go home. And I want to try to get home early today. By early, I mean, before 5. I doubt that'll happen, but I'm gonna try. So if you were watching yesterday on the drive, I tried to show you the Beaver Dam situation. It's back to what it was before all the steps were taken to mitigate the problem. And I don't understand what happened, but it does appear that the drains have been removed, and so that second lake has formed. And I don't know why. I heard it's because they thought that the beavers had gone, but I don't believe that's the answer, because if they thought the beavers were gone, why didn't they remove the dam that was there still and drain that pond and get rid of the lodge? So I don't believe whoever was that told me that was correct. Plus, people have been seeing them all over the place, Oh man, days like today where it's kind of just overcast, and it's, cool, it's 60 degrees. It just make you want to take a nap, don't they? Kind of just drag butt all day. Okay, so we're on Seminary Ridge, and then we're going to cross over Middle Street. So we kind of did a little loop there, and we're going to go down Confederate Avenue. Also known as the Avenue of the Alternative Americas. Jim says, "Sorry, Matt, are we keeping you awake?" No, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Paul says, "Hey, I was wondering if you ever thought about having your own app made up." Yes, Peter. I said Paul. I don't know why I said that. Peter, I've been talking about that behind the scenes for about a year now. I mean, well, no, more than a year. Colby and I have been talking about it for a while. App development is not cheap. And that's really been of course, the main obstacle. But I do eventually want to develop an app where all the free episodes would be, and then also, instead of having Patreon, you have membership there to the premium episodes. And then that's how we would replace Patreon with that, because the fees, I mean, look, Patreon's got to pay their staff. They got to make money and keep the lights on like everybody else does. But the fees are really ridiculous. And I there's different levels of support that you can get, and obviously with more support you get a larger chunk taken out, and I'm on like the lowest one, and it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk. So yeah, I would love to be able to get there, but those guys that develop the apps, they don't work for peanuts. So yes, Peter, I would absolutely love to have one. I plan to have one. I just have to get the right ducks in a row in order to build it. And then when we start to really expand the network we're building, then everything would be through there as well. Afternoon, Natch. How you doing? Our view of Pete's charge. Hey, Barbara, how you doing? Funny show last night. My insides were hurting. Oh, good. I'm always afraid when we have fun. It's funny because you would think when people have fun, others would like to see people having fun, and that would loosen them up and make them have fun with them. But there's this weird phenomenon where, like, when you have fun, people get mad, and maybe it's because they're not included in it, or they never learned how, or whatever. So like, there was one comment somebody commented on YouTube, "I love when Cindy is on," and then I saw there was a reply, so I clicked the view reply button, and it said, "I love the show, but can you do like a little history? Because like we're here for history and blah blah blah. Can someone please tell them?" So I responded, "Thank you for loving the show. 99% of the shows we do are history shows, but the purpose of this show is to A, keep me sane, because death and mayhem and maiming is depressing. B, update listeners on what's going on in the adjacent Gettysburg community so that we don't have to waste time on the history shows doing that. Besides which, that information would be out of date because we record the shows months in advance of their release." And what C was. And it's I don't get it. Like, do people like their lives to be boring? And our brand of fun is not their brand of fun. That's fine. But anyway, regardless, I'm glad you were laughing, Barbara. I always like to hear that. Howdy, Brian. How are you? Hello, Dustin. Peter says, "Did my first test run video use too much fade to black?" Send it to me, Peter. Do Do you mind if I look at it and I can give you some pointers if I have any? Good afternoon. Love the show last evening, says Marcia. Really love the band. My best friend was listening, and he sent me texts afterwards. And he quoted a line that I said about one of the guys after school stopping home first to say hi to his mom and have milk and cookies, because that was a joke that the other guy in the band used to make, because he never understood why he couldn't just come to my house like he did. But so he's like, then he was remarking about his voice cracking in the intro, and then and he goes, look, you guys were 16 years. I think he thinks I needed to be soothed, but like, if I thought that was good, I wouldn't have put it out there for ridicule, right? Like, it might as well have been someone else that we were listening to, because I don't even identify with 16-year-old me, which I think most adults would say. And most adults didn't go around recording everything that they did, so they probably, could only try to remember what it was like to be 16. But like, for me to listen to us and then remember that we thought we were good, and other people in our circles, like other bands in the school would say the same thing. And and like I said, like older musicians who we all looked up to, because like this guy Dave, he's great on the bass, and John is just fantastic on the drums and everything. They had already graduated, but they were like older brothers or friends of older brothers of friends that we had who were still in school, and so we knew them, and like we're like, whoa. And then when I graduated, they were putting a new band together, and they asked me to play keyboards, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, like, and that was awesome for me. Like, I really always wanted to play with those guys, but like, but it was like you had to like shit or get off the pot. Like, you had to either rise to their level or get kicked out, and so I'll say I didn't get kicked out. But when you're 16, like, you got like 2 or 3 tricks that and you do them and over again, and your audience is 16. They don't know the difference because you're all learning, but anyway, it was funny to listen to. Yeah, but I think it was horrible. Anyway, so Pete was like, he goes, for 16-year-olds, like, you guys, you did a good job. Like, you came up with a show, you put it together, you worked it out. I remember every week you guys would rehearse, and you really like put thought into it, and then you went out and you played at a bar, and you were there with bloody diarrhea and whatever, yeah, even though I was like, yeah, you're probably right, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, it was bad. Which is why it was fun to listen to. And Peter, thanks. Dragoon says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dragoon. Peter says, it has nothing to do with history. Just, yeah, I understand. I get it. Don't worry. I was out yesterday shooting video on the battlefield with a guy named Ken, who is going to come along get out of the car tours and be the cameraman. So I took him out to introduce him to the camera, and we just kind of walked around and took shots, and I let him get used to the equipment. So yeah, that's what we did yesterday. You got to do test shots. John B says, good or bad, you got to experience the youth rock band attempt, and you have great stories. Yeah, one thing I have to say is that I experienced everything I wanted to experience in my life. Like I always was wise enough to listen to the advice of the older folks. I didn't always take it, but it was always in the back of my head. And when the old folks would say, enjoy while it lasts, boy, you're not young forever, or, don't get old, or something like that, your guys are going the wrong way. I would be like, all right, well, they're all saying it, so there must be some truth to it. And so I think I purposely, now that I think about it, might have postponed growing up in my 20s, like not really trying to get nailed down in a career too seriously, because I wanted to experience things and find myself, as they say. So I just kind of did my own thing. And then, in my 30s, and I was like, that was stupid, because here I am with nothing. But I have a lot of experiences, and I don't feel the need, when people go through a midlife crisis and they do the things that they should have done when they were 22, but they didn't for whatever reason, and so then they do it. But like at 45, that's a weird thing to behold, and it's just, it might feel good, but everybody looks at you like you're weird. So I got everything out of the way. Everything I wanted to do, everything I was interested in, everything I thought might be fun or I was curious about, I would go and do it. And so I played in bands, and I, got jobs and working on film and television stuff, and nothing special, but I did it. I got to experience all the things that I kind of always dreamed about. And most things, interestingly enough, that I dreamed about, once experienced, were not really anything like the dream. And not that it was disappointing per se, but, I'm always glad I did what I did. I don't really have any regrets. And that's nice. Dave Grohl's book outlines how he started at 15 playing in a punk band on the road with them. Yeah, I always wanted, I don't know, I always wanted to, I guess it's all relative. Like, that's the thing, I think, is I was always told or treated like I was, something. And I think it was just because I had the nerve to play a keyboard in a rock band when everybody was all playing guitars. You know what I mean? Like, if you're the only guy doing something relative to everybody else, then you're kind of like special. And so then they treat you that way if you're halfway decent. And that's what I was, halfway decent. But I don't think it was any good. Anyway, regardless, it was fun. And there's more tapes strewn about in boxes somewhere, and as I discover them, if there's anything worth playing on the show, I'll play it. And by the way, there's a few songs that we didn't get to last night because, I gotta draw the torture out over a period of months. So, someday you might hear White Room, or you might hear Born Under a Bad Sign, which is a particularly funny one because that riff it spans a little more than an octave. So when you're playing the bass line and whatever on the right hand, my skill level at the time couldn't do both, so we had to like simplify the riff, and it was really repetitive and really annoying, but whatever. Peter says, I was 16 and lucky, or at 16, I was lucky I could tie my shoes. He also says, I love music, but damn, I can't play anything. Like learning languages, took 4 different language classes, could never make any of it stick. Yeah, well, you see, I don't think I'd be able to, I took 5 years of Spanish? No, 4 years of Spanish. Sophomore year of high school through freshman year of college. And the only Spanish sentence I can rattle off is something I learned on a trip to Puerto Rico when we were hanging out in the hotel lobby and we met a kid who was our age and he spoke English, and so we played cards with him all night, and I asked him to teach me a couple of sentences in Spanish, and those, for whatever reason, I could commit to memory, or that one I could commit to memory, but the things that I was supposed to be learning in class, nothing really stuck. Although once in a while a Spanish phrase will come flying out of my mouth and it'll be correct, or I'll hear someone say something and I'll know enough of what they said to be able to figure out the rest. So maybe some of it stuck. Peter Pan bus. Do you know what Peter Pan means? Does anybody know what Peter Pan means? I was watching, I gotta be delicate here, but this is history. I was watching a history channel on YouTube. I forget the name of the channel, but he's British, and he went to a brothel in Deadwood, and there is a room, or in the how do I do this delicately? In the Soiled Dove's room, in the corner, there was a basin of sorts, a pan. And, you know, the Johns would come in from the mines all dusty and dirty and sweaty. And before business was transacted, he'd have to go over to the pan. I think if you have a good knowledge of slang and what I'm describing, you can figure out the rest and realize what a Peter Pan is. And or perhaps if I change the inflection and say a Peter Pan, that might give you a better idea of what it is. So now I can't look at the beloved children's character Peter Pan the same way again. Thanks, information. There you go. Jim got it. Member wash basin. There you go. I should have just said it that way. That's right, Jimmy. That's right. Watched the filming of Dr. Rick's Ask a Guide last night. Really enjoyed it. Dr. Rick never disappoints. No, he doesn't run. I could sit and talk for hours with him and Fran about medical stuff. And what I love is they're happy to share the information. You know, they're not like, oh man, I'm retired. I did that stuff for 30 years. Yeah, blah, blah. No, they're like, yeah, so this, that, and then infarctions and this and that. And then you stop them and ask them what something means, and then they just go ahead and answer it. Like, they're very happy to give. I love talking to people who I don't feel like I'm annoying. And none of the guests that we have on the show, I don't feel like they're annoyed by being asked questions, because they want to share their knowledge, which is great. But I love the medical shows. I wish we had like more than one life to live, because there's so many things I want to do or learn. And I was talking to Cindy last night, and I was like, I want to do another podcast, not instead of this, but in addition to this. And she's like, where are you going to find the time? And I'm like, I don't freaking know. But I can work on it, in the shadows until I have enough episodes to, put out the first year. But I want to do a show where I just talk to interesting people. Like no particular subject matter. whatever it is that they do that is interesting, that's what I want to talk about. And I'm talking like, you know, from a rocket scientist down to, or not down to, but to a farmer, or you know, the guy who who delivers and picks up and cleans out porta-johns. I don't care what it is. You know, not necessarily like a Dirty Jobs type of a show, but a show where we get to know people from all walks of life, because I don't know, I just find everything interesting. Not everything, but most things interesting. I can at least find it interesting for an hour and a half. So I've been trying to think of a good name for it, and once I have the name, then I'll be like, okay, that's the name, and that is what I'm going to start to work on. Ty says, Peter Pan is also a peanut butter you just convinced me never to eat again. Yeah, exactly. Peter says, actually learning is pretty exciting. It is. It is. There's just, I mean, just take where we are right now by the 1st Maryland or 2nd Maryland, depending on how you want to look at it. Like, just this ground here, there's stuff that millions of tourists casually, thoughtlessly breeze by, and they go, oh, that's a boulder, or oh, that's a this, or oh, that's a whatever. And they don't have a clue that there might be a story attached to it. And I don't know. I think that's what it is that excites me, is when there's something that's just right under your nose, but it's got a really fascinating story, and it's just kind of sitting there. I guess a good example here at Gettysburg are like this monument coming up right here, the 78th and 102nd New York. The Lion's Head. Are you familiar with the Lion's Head? I would, well, actually, you can see it here. Here. If you don't know, we'll zoom in on it. Look at that. Clear as day. The Lion's Head right there. And then the fences kind of make his paw, the one paw at least. Right? Most people don't know that unless they're told. I didn't until I was told. So, I just think that stuff's awesome. Mike, you should be paying attention to Joe. It's his birthday weekend. Another example in the park here is when I first moved back in 2018. I went on a battle walk, kind of ranger walk, whatever you call it, to kind of reacquaint myself with the story. And it was Troy Harmon, and he pointed out Webb Avenue and I think it was Harrow Avenue, or was it Hall? Well, Webb Avenue looped around Cushing's Battery, and Harrow or Hall, I can't remember which one it was, went along the wall south from the copse of trees. And I had always noticed that the green of the grass was a different color in a very distinctive shape. But for whatever reason, I never asked anybody. I never tried to figure it out myself and figure that, well, it's a pretty distinctive shape, and one is straight and one's a pretty good loop. Must be an old roadbed. Never thought to, because I wasn't always curious. That's something that comes with my age for me. Like, I became more curious about everything the older I got, and the more I realized that my time is limited, and there's so much to learn and do and see that, and I only have one life, and so I want it to be as full as it can be of good experiences. So, be curious about things. So I did. And so anyway, then Troy pointed it out, and I just remember I got a thrill, like a chill down my spine, because I had trod that ground so many times. I had seen it so many times, and I had even noticed the different color of grass. But I never figured out or asked what it was. And I was just like, wow, there's so much that I never learned in my first 5 years living here. And, depression's also a real bitch, and I was depressed during those first 5, and my attitude was not as good as it should have been. Oh, happy birthday to you too, Peter. Ron says, I was a Chicago police officer for almost 25 years, met everyone from famous actors and athletes to drug addicts. Everyone had some kind of wildlife tale to tell. Yeah, it's true. They're interesting stories. I think that's what it is I like stories. I like a good story, and I like a good story that's true. And I think it's because I put myself in other people's shoes. So when I'm listening to your story, I'm imagining myself going through it. And if it's some extreme story, like living on the streets and strung out on heroin and all this, I try to imagine what that's like while you're telling me. And I'm like, Jesus, I would be dead. Like, I couldn't live that way. How do you do it? And, that type of thing. Or aspirational stories, like an athlete who, is constantly training, and I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm at the gym for 2 hours, and I go out, I just back to the gym at noon, and it's like, man, you were driven. How do you do that? And then everything in between. I just find, like, people are interesting. As awful as people can be, as annoying as people can be, if you can get them in the right moment where they'll talk to you, they're interesting. Everybody's got a story to tell. They may not know how to tell it, though. That's the problem. Hey, Matt, is there any LiDAR maps of the battlefield to show? There's got to be. I don't know for sure. I know there are a lot of maps that I'm not aware of, or that I haven't seen, or that I haven't really explored. But I couldn't really tell you specifically. That's something I would ask the park. You call the information desk at the park and ask them that, they'd be able to find the answer for you. Mark says, this drive is a great way for me to get my Gettysburg fixed till I come up in June. There you go. Good. I'm glad. That's what I hoped people would get out of these. You could just mute the speaker so you don't have to hear the rambling. How's this kid doing? What we'll do, we'll take a little ride up to Benner's Hill. It's a place we don't often go, but we'll go up there anyway. That barn on the right is the Culp farm. So Culp's Hill is off to the right. We're on East Middle Street now. Yeah, Brian says that Benner's Hill is one of the few places that still has the shot stacks. Oh, I forgot. Oh, damn! I gotta. All right, we'll go up to Benner's Hill. I have to end it up there because I have a phone call. So my meeting is arriving. He just called, so I gotta go meet him. So we'll go up to Benner's Hill. I'll end the video. We'll turn around, or I'll turn around and head in. Alrighty, moving right along. So you take, now this is the Hanover Road, or 116. How you doing, Brandon? Jim says, has anyone ever been to Romney, West Virginia to see any of the Civil War stuff there? I know one person who has, because he never shuts up about it. Give me a C. Give me an A. Give me an M. What does that spell? Cam. All right, good old Benner's Hill. Culp's Hill over there. That's top of Culp's Hill. I don't know if you can make it out, but the observation tower is visible above the trees. It's much more visible when you are... 6 questions. I thought Joe told you to put the phone down. Much more visible when you are here in person, of course, and more visible in the off season as opposed to summer and spring and fall and, you know, the leafed out seasons. Okay. Oh, good. Someone left their cushions. You know, I could actually use some new cushions for my outdoor furniture, but I'm not gonna. All right, we'll give you a nice view here of, well, you really can't see much, can you? But there's the town of Gettysburg. Let's zoom in a bit on it here. There we go. There we go. When is Cam going to make an appearance again? Well, Cam cushions battery. That's good, Jump Master. I like that. Cam just announced that he will be working for the Park Service again this year. And I believe, he didn't say where, but I know he had an interview with Monocacy. So I believe he'll be down there. I don't know. He tries to be cryptic, but he's not good at being cryptic. And so he doesn't come on. Well, first of all, we've had guests, and when we have guests on, he steers clear. I don't exactly know why, but my theory is that because there won't be any spotlight for him, so he doesn't want to. He's not really a part of the team, you know. He comes when it behooves him, but he's not really a team player there. So I think that's why he hasn't come around, is because we've had a lot of guests. But I told him, when you get your job, come on the show and tell everybody about it, and we will cheer for you. All right, I have to go because I have a meeting, and I got to make a phone call, see where he is, and that's it. You guys have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for helping the Money and Cigarettes album sales go through the roof overnight, and we'll talk to you later.